لحظاتی که ما مجبور دریافت کردیم این زنده بود یه ضرب مغزی و ما حتی کپسول اکسیژن نداشتیم که این یک بر اکسیژن بدیم.
ما کپسول اکسیژن اینجا نداریم. کپسول اکسیژن ساده ترین وسیله اکسیژن که برای نیاز یه مجروح بیهوش هست، یه بیمار بیهوش هست و نیاز به اکسیژن داره یا قفسه سینه‌اش جراحت دیده و نیاز به اکسیژن داره، ما اینا در اختیار نداشتیم.
کارآمدی که تو به اسم شکنجه‌ای به اسم بیمارستان عراقی دایر کردن همه کارآمدی ما رو منتقل کردن اونجا با سکون نبودن و یک دونه مجروح اونجا نپذیرفتن که بشه یک اقدامات اولیه و حیاتی براش انجام دادن. جلو چشم ما در نبود امکانات همه مجموعی تحت شد.
از ورود پزشکان متخصص به اشرف ممانعت میکنن، از ورود دارو و هر گونه امکانات و تجهیزات پزشکی مورد نیاز برای معالجه بیماران به اشرف ممانعت میکنن.
نه آخه باید درون بزنه اینا گلوله
Mrs. Rajabi, thank you for your leadership and for inviting me to have the honor to address this audience today. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, no one can watch a film such as the one we just saw and not be moved. I've had my share of wars in my life. But such brutality directed against innocent men and women is something that one cannot accept. In this so-called civilized world, man's inhumanity to man is something that is hard to understand. I would like to offer my personal and sincere condolences to the people of Camp Ashraf and to all the families who have lost loved ones in the struggle. And I think that there are some basic facts that we must now recognize and acknowledge. The first one, in my view, and this is a personal view, is the attack on 8 April could have been and should have been prevented. The second is that this attack was clearly deliberate, calculated, and authorized by the government of Iraq. Third is that the international response was certainly too little and too late. And finally, it must never, ever happen again. Ladies and gentlemen, an ancient Chinese philosopher said in his wishes, may you live in interesting times. The pace of events in the world today are astounding. Events that happened in one place are on the news that same evening. And it is astonishing, I'm sure, for the governments who have to deal with these relentless crises to try to make some sense in a strategic framework as to how to deal with the changing nature of the world. And nowhere is this more evident than in the greater Middle East and in North Africa, where it is impossible to not stay glued to a television set or a newspaper in order to stay up with what is happening hour by hour and day by day. It is also, I think, impossible to predict with any great certainty the outcome. The only thing that's certain, in my view, is that things are just beginning and certainly not ending. There is a difference in the causal factors which trigger this massive public uprising, reflecting, I think, a few things, a few basic things that people want in this 21st century, that people want because they are better informed, they are better educated, and they communicate across borders. And no government, no matter how oppressive, can restrict the flow of information for very long. And those regimes that are oppressing their people and trying to control the information flow, the way they think, the way they live, will find themselves on the losing end of this battle in the long term. People want greater personal freedom. They want greater transparency in how they're governed. They want governments that operate under a rule of law that is fair and just. They want better economic opportunities for themselves, if not for themselves, then for their children. Whatever the future holds, it is clear that the changes will be profound and will be long-lasting. Taking the view of the optimist, I believe, with all the passion I can muster, that it is possible that the future could be one of great promise. It won't be easy. It won't be rapid. It will require unity of purpose by the world community and its organizations. The public and private sectors of our countries will have to work together under a whole-of-government concept where the military option is no longer in and of itself enough. It is necessary, but it is not enough. I think it would be interesting to put ourselves in the mind of the most senior Iranian leaders today and think about what's going through their minds, if that were to be possible. I believe that the Iranian regime has been, to use an American term, flying under the radar since the upheavals in Tunisia. They probably feel good about that. The world is not focusing on their nuclear program anymore. The world is not focusing on the effectiveness of sanctions. They're focusing on Tunisia. They're focusing on Libya. They're focusing on Egypt. They're focusing on Yemen. And they're focusing on Ashraf. Iran retains its defiant stance to the global community's demands for transparency with regard to its nuclear program. They continue to get away with being a net exporter of terror through Hamas, Hezbollah, and other surrogates, and they have done so since 1983 in Lebanon. That I'm certain of. And thus far, they are resisting the effects of almost a globally imposed sanctions regime that we hope will help them move in the right direction. They demonstrate an alarming and growing influence over the government of Iraq. That is worrisome. It is also an insult to the sacrifice made by many nations to try to give the people of Iraq a better future under a democratically elected government.